5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, my friends. I'm very glad to see you. How are you today? Today, I thought that I would talk about the principle of art called proportion. Proportion is the size of things in relationship to each other. In many of our classes, I've talked about proportion before, especially with regards to how humans are put together. The human body has specific proportions. That means that the size of them is the same in relationship to other parts. Specifically, your hand is about the same size as your face. Also, your forearm from your elbow to your wrist is about the same size as your foot. Let's take a look at proportion in some artworks.
So we're looking at proportion. Proportion is the size relationships between elements in a work of art. Here you see we've got Spoon, Bridge, and Cherry by Claes Oldenburg and his wife, Koosje van Bruggen. We've got the Great Wave off Kanagawa here, and the wave is huge, but Mount Fuji is really tiny and in the back. Then we have the Madonna with the long neck. Madonna with the long neck, her neck is very much longer than you would normally see on a person. Let's take a look at the Mona Lisa by Da Vinci. Da Vinci painted this to look like a normal human woman. He put her eyes in the middle, where eyes go. He put her nose farther down from that. He put her lips down there. Her hands are about the same size as her face. And we can see that she looks like a person that we would see every day. But there's an artist named Botero who decided that he wanted to make a artwork of the Mona Lisa, but in his own style. And his style happens to be people with very round faces and very round bodies. So if you look very closely here, you can see that her face is very round, that she has very round cheeks, and that while her eyes are about halfway down, her nose and mouth are farther up than they would normally be with normal human proportions. And if we look at the two of them together, we can definitely see this. Mona is longer and Botero's is wider. They have different proportions. Let's take a look at another artist named Modigliani. Modigliani painted a lot of women. He painted them very, very long. Let's take a look at another Modigliani. We can see again that her face is very long. Her nose is also very long, but her lips and eyes are not long at all. Let's take a look at those two Modiglianis together. And when you look at them, you can see that they definitely have some characteristics that are similar. The eyebrows are very similar on these two. The nose is a similar length. The neck is also very, very long. This is one way that Modigliani used proportions as part of his style. Now let's look at a sculpture. This sculpture is called Spoon Bridge by Koosje van Bruggen and her husband Claes Oldenburg. They built this bridge in Minneapolis, and as you can see by the people right here, this is a very large spoon. Its proportions are different than they normally would be as an actual spoon. When we look at this very large bridge, we see that the proportions of it are much, much larger than the people in the picture. Let's take a look at a comic. This comic is called Calvin and Hobbes. And the reason why I wanted to show it to you is because it's very funny, but also it has really cute characters in it. And let's take a look at the character of Calvin. This is Calvin here, and this is his stuffed animal Hobbes. In Calvin's imagination, Hobbes comes to life and helps him do things. But that's not why I wanted to show it to you. Why I wanted to show it to you is for Calvin's size. Calvin is a very small boy, but Calvin's head is the same size as Calvin's body. If you look at normal humans, even children, their heads and bodies are different sizes. Usually humans are between 5 and 8 heads tall. It depends on how old they are, but this is generally the rule of thumb. Calvin is only 2 heads tall. That really only happens in babies.
Now that we've looked at some different artworks with proportion, what do you think you could make that shows proportion? Could you make a cartoon character? Could you make something that was really big or really small? What could you make that would show proportion? Thanks for watching. Now go make something. So Calvin came up on the table to say hello, but Calvin doesn't like for me to hold him, so he's not happy about this at all.